So last night was the 15 mile time trial, which was actually only like 12 hours ago. So I knew that getting up today would be tough to do the session I got planned. Breakfast isn't so big because it is, 8 AM, but I need to head out as soon as possible basically to do this ride. And this is the big, I guess, not the last big ride, but it's one where I'm gonna just take the reins off and like just push myself and really just sort of try and cover a lot of ground in this ride. I know it's quite vague when I say about speed, but it's gonna be quite hilly, but I just want to press on and just ride hard, which is something that I rarely ever do, but today calls for that. Yeah, last night's effort was a breakthrough effort, there is no doubt in that, but I want to make sure that I carry that momentum into today's ride and like know that I have the legs. So by going out today and doing this ride, I'm quite confident in what I can do, and I'm also quite looking forward to doing it. So the out and out goal for this ride is to do 5 hours and 130 kilometers. I'm gonna stop about 90k in for a quick coffee with Charlie. But yeah, the target is really to just imagine like I'm in the first 150k of the 312, and we're starting off with a great long drag to the top of the Black Mountains. It takes you about half an hour, so that simulates the first climb almost, and I'm sort of riding to feel a little bit, but I'm also just trying to cover as much ground as possible. So I'm thinking aero, I'm thinking power, I'm thinking of resting on the little downs, and I'm also like fairly confident that like the first 5 hours are likely to be the most intense at the 312 because of the climbs, and the last 4 or 5 hours are just going to be a mental battle, just a slog fest. So I've done a fair few like 8-hour days. The endurance is definitely there, it's just the intensity early on is what we're working here. I'm really sorry, I think the last clip you saw there was on the descent, and I thought I was recording the best bit, but obviously not. It was an amazing descent, sweeping, dry road, just like the best day for it. I'm on the bottom of the Black Mountain now. I'm an hour and a half in, and it's going really well so far. I wish I could talk more, but I'm knuckling down. There's a reason why I don't do these sort of rides very often, and that's because it's training that gets you ready for these rides. Like, these rides don't get you ready for these rides, training does. Structured, quality, smart training, so that when it comes to like the crunch point and you try and do a ride where you just want to go faster for longer over really hard terrain or really flat terrain, this is it. Training gets you there. Whoa, 2.5 hours in. We've done like the bulk of climbing, but in 2.5 hours we've done 2,000 meters with an average speed of 31.1k an hour. I used to get like people saying to me, I think your power meter's under reading, because like you're doing like all this power but you're not actually going anywhere fast. I'm like, that's Wales for you. They're just grippy roads. So the majority of the rest of the ride we're going to be heading south into a headwind. So I've done my biggest loop now, and it's about to get sort of quite gnarly quite quickly as soon as we get out of Armanford. So coffee shop is shut. So that throws a massive spanner in the works. Charlie supplied me with a new bottle so I can do a swap. And that'll get me around the last 2 hours. Will you give us somewhere with coffee?
Yeah. I don't know Ammanford that well.
Drastic times. Drastic times call for drastic measures. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. It's my I think it's my first ever Greg's coffee.
Oh my gosh.
That's gonna blow people's minds. There's also a Jenkins right across the way. Is there a Jenkins only in Wales? Yeah, so Jenkins is like the Welsh equivalent of Greg's.
But better.
Jenkins is better?
I think so.
It is a bigger shop and it's got a seating area. But this will do. Well, thanks for a little coffee date, Charles. I'll see you back at the flat.
See you back at the flat.
Got 2 hours left to do, so I'll be as quick as I can. So 2 hours left to do. Straight out of a cafe, straight up a big mountain. It's a good test for me, and I know at the 312 I obviously won't be stopping at a cafe, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity while Charlie's off work today to meet up for a quick coffee. So I'm assuming the last 40k of this route is going to be quite slow now because the climbs are in a headwind and the descents are down lanes and are really twisty, so that's a shame, but you know, we've done well up till now with our average speed. Let's just get this done. Okay, I got 30 kilometers to go. I've done the last of the big long climbs up from Scotch Pine out of Ammanford. I've got 4 sort of 5-minute climbs left to do. But the roads are quite slow from now on, like I said. So I'm like, I got 30.3 k an hour average. I'm gonna do everything now to try and hang on to a above 30 k an hour average from now to the end. I know this is for a separate video. I said I was gonna give my thoughts on like my electronic gears now, and also like the bike as a whole package. Like a day like today where you're constantly shifting through the gears and you know you want to do that quick, and like the amount of energy I probably saved today like with electronic gears is mad, especially like going big ring, small ring. Mechanical just used to be like you'd wear your hands out. Well, I would anyway. What's great about a ride like this when you're trying to find like what you're capable of without any limits is like when you know you're going well, like psychologically you could just turn the screw even more, and that's what's so good about it. Finding myself now 3.5 hours in and I just know, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm just going deeper and deeper. I know, let's put the hardest climbs at the end. That'll be a good idea. So I'm on the penultimate climb. We've got 10k to go and 300 meters left to climb. But this is by far hardest climb to include. 1 kilometer, 14%. My average speed is gonna hemorrhage on this because I'm literally doing 9k an hour at 5.5 watts per kilo, so let's see. We can do it! We can do it! Last climb. The summit. We've done it. We have finished all the climbs. Woo! Oh, I've got goosebumps. So the reason why I did the ride today was because I wanted to, with 2 weeks out from the Mallorca 312, I wanted to give myself a good test, a blind test in a way, because I know that like the first half of the Mallorca 312 with all the climbs and everything is going to be the hardest. Like, put it that way, like hardest in terms of like the power production, the zone distribution, and the last half, which is, you know, the flatter half, is going to be all about like a mind game. By doing that ride this morning, I wanted to accumulate 3,500 meters of climbing. I wanted to try and do it as fast as possible, within reason. A lot of the roads around here are quite like slow roads, both tarmac and like the descending and things, and obviously it's quite windy here, so yeah, it was quite slow. But I wanted to try and accumulate that climbing. I also wanted to try and accumulate like a lot of time sort of pressing on when I was climbing as well, so sort of anywhere like just below threshold. And actually it turns out that every climb I did, which I don't even know how many there were, but like even up until the last couple, I was still doing about 5.5 watts per kilo for like the climbs, and they were anywhere sort of between like 15 minutes and 7 minutes, so they're not like really long. So I actually took on about 85 grams of carbohydrate an hour for the 4 hours 15 minutes. This ride was supposed to take me 5 hours, but I was going faster than I thought, so I actually ended up covering 130k in 4 hours 15 minutes with normalized power of 392 watts, which is about 4.9 watts per kilo. What's kind of interesting is like breaking down the energy requirement. So when I look back at the ride today, I actually was riding at the equivalent of 15 kilojoules per kilogram per hour. So Lantern Rouge. So on Lantern Rouge's website, I'm going to leave a link down below. There's a page called The Importance of Measuring Fatigue in a Cycling Race and Its Impact. And it talks all about this way of measuring like power production after a certain amount of workload. And the way they measure it is by using kilojoules per kilogram per hour. So if you've not seen it, I would encourage you to read the link down below in the description, because I'm not gonna like, I'll butcher it if I try to explain it. It's a way of kind of saying, like, you know when they do like the Saudi tour, for example, and it's pan flat all day and everyone's riding in like zone 1 and they're burning like 600 kgs an hour, and then they get to the final climb, and the final climb sees some outrageous watt per kilo numbers for like 30 minutes or 20 minutes. And that's because the workload has been quite easy leading up to it. I mean, you can kind of assume that anyway. Like a stage of the Tour de France, which is like super mountainous, and then they have like Alpe d'Huez at the end, like the amount of work done before it to then produce that power at the end is like outrageous. So what's cool is that you can then sort of dissect that yourself from your own ride. So today's ride for me was actually 15 kilojoules per kilogram per hour. So you do the maths, 15 times 60 kilos gives you, I think, like 900. So that's 900 kgs an hour is the work rate that I was doing for 4 hours and 15 minutes. And on their website there's an actual like graph, and what they decide is hard is if the race is under 3 hours, 14 and above is like known as high or hard stage. It's really interesting looking at like the Mallorca 312, which is what we're obviously here for. And sorry, I know this is dragging on a little bit now, but the guy came second at the Mallorca 312 last year. He was riding along at the equivalent of, up until the point of where the climbs end, so the first half, which is what I was trying to do today, He was rolling along at a rate of 984 kgs an hour. Now his weight on Strava is 72 kilos. I don't know if it's correct, but we have to use it. So that comes in at 13.7 kilojoules per kilogram per hour. And after that, it's like every man and woman for themselves. So we go from there. So that's going to wrap up this video. I am incredibly satisfied with today's ride. I don't know what to call this video. It's like the Mallorca 312 test ride, maybe something like that. But if you found it interesting, if you found it inspiring, which I hope you did, it feels like I'm like really getting somewhere. Like the sort of normalized power I was doing there for 4 hours 15 minutes is like something I used to do when I was way back racing. Like that demand is high, and for me to do it solo and for me to just pour on the coals and just go out today and just do it the day after the 15 mile time trial, which was last night, then things must be good, I hope. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next one.